Mercy Me is coming to Pittsburgh, the Together Again tour with Mercy Me, Crowder, and special guest Andrew Ripp, Thursday, October 5th. Bring your family and friends to the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh for Mercy Me, Crowder, and Andrew Ripp live in concert. 3 multiple award-winning artists on one stage for one night. Let your spirit soar, your heart sing, and your faith ignite. Mark your calendars for Thursday, October 5th. Get your tickets now at mercyme.org.
It's exciting that the Business Boutique was made for you.
I know that I can make a difference in people's lives, and I want to do that.
Hearing a lot of what other people are going through is really healing in a sense and motivating as well.
I have the world in my hand, and I can do whatever I want to.
Learning from some of the top leaders who can make these dreams a reality is just so exciting.
It ignited a passion in me to know she can do that, we can do that too.
I'm so blessed to have heard the podcast that led me to this moment.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy-rant, and today we're talking about how to build relationships. Later on in the show, I'll be interviewing publicist, consultant, and founder of Richett Media, Emily Richett, about how to use public relations for your business. I'm also going to be talking about small business loans, and I'll be answering some of your questions. But first, let's talk about how to build relationships. You know, I think there's this idea out there that building relationships is just easy for some people. And sure, if you have a social personality, if you're naturally an extrovert and you love to talk and connect with people, then yes, maybe building relationships is easier for you. But I want you guys to know that your personality style does not have to dictate your ability to build relationships. Because as we know, building relationships is vital to life and business. And regardless of your personality style, everyone has that little bit of insecurity within them. I'll tell you all, I'm a huge extrovert, but there's still a part of me that's nervous walking into a party or nervous walking into a situation where I don't know anyone. You know, everyone knows that feeling of what it's like to be the new kid in school or the kid walking into the lunchroom. You're holding your tray, your hands might be shaking a little bit, and your eyes are scanning the room. They're scanning the room for someone friendly, someone to connect with, someone to sit with, someone that'll look, recognize you, and wave you over. We all know that feeling. And inside all of us, that middle schooler still exists sometimes. So even if you have a super extroverted personality style, it doesn't mean that you won't still struggle sometimes with building relationships. That's why I want to talk in this episode about how to build relationships. And y'all, these skills can help you in life, but also especially in your business. Everything you will ever achieve in your life will come through people. So becoming good at building relationships is one of the most important skills you can develop. It's more important than being business-minded or even good with money, believe it or not. If you don't have key relationships, you won't get anywhere. I always tell people that the quality of your life is a reflection of the quality of your relationships. But the same is true in business. The quality of your business is a reflection of the quality of the relationships you have also. So I want to break this down into 5 easy steps. This is really practical from a business standpoint. So if you're taking notes, I want you to write these 5 steps down because it will show you how to actively and intentionally build relationships for your business. All right, let's talk about step 1. Step 1 is really simple. You first need to decide who you want to talk to. Maybe you'll have some key relationships just appear in your business, but that's probably not likely. You'll be much more successful if you figure out who you want to build a relationship with. You just decide who you want to talk to and then seek them out. Now let's go through a few examples. Maybe if you're a wedding planner, a key relationship for you would be a florist or a calligrapher or someone that runs a venue. You can work with them to market for each other and both of you leverage business for each other. Maybe if you're a product-based business, you want to get your products into stores. Someone that you might want to talk to would be store owners. Maybe if you're a music teacher, you want to seek out administrators in your school district. These people could help you get in with the music classes and get referrals for students in your area. Another example would be a writer. If you're a writer, you might want to collaborate with other bloggers or key influencers. I don't know what this looks like for your business or your stage of business, but you first want to decide who you want to talk to. Think about those key relationships that can really help you. They can help you overcome challenges or reach your goals or take your business to the next level. What needs do you have that someone could help you with? When you begin to think of who those people are, then you're ready for the second step. Then you just figure out where they are. So after you decide who you want to talk to, you then need to think about where they are. So for example, if you're trying to reach a production assistant at a television station, you'll want to reach out to them there. You want to do a little research, do a little digging, maybe even a little stalking, and find out who you need to talk to. If you're trying to get your products in stores, I'm sure they have an owner that makes that decision, or they might even have a buyer. Do a little digging, do a little stalking, and figure out who that person is and where they are. Or in the wedding planner example, you can always just show up. Just show up at your local florist with a bunch of coffee and say, hey, I'd love to talk about how we can work together. You can be creative. Don't feel like that you're in a box with all these rules and formalities. You're running a small business. And more than likely, other people running small businesses will actually respect your efforts. So after you decide who you want to talk to, you're ready for step 2 and step 3. Step 2 is simply figuring out where they are. But then once you know where they are, you're ready for step 3. That's where you want to contact them. Now, you can take several different approaches here. You can either do a little digging, a little researching, a little Googling, and maybe even a little stalking. Maybe you want to find out who's the point of contact for all media at your local TV station. Who's the production assistant? Who is the decision maker that would help you get on their show? Once you figure that out, you're ready to contact them. You can do it through email or through a form, or I'm not opposed to just showing up. This would be especially effective if you're trying to get your products in stores, for example. Grab some coffee, show up at their boutique, and just say, hey, I'd love to see how we can work together. And guys, I want to give you a challenge here. You can be creative. You can think outside the box. You don't have to be all formal and go through contact forms. You can, but you can also just show up, which brings me to step number 4. After you decide who you want to talk to, and you figure out where they are, and you contact them, step 4 is to bring them something. So maybe if you're going to a local boutique, you want to show up with product samples. If you're showing up at another business that you want to work with and collaborate with, bring them some coffee, bring them some donuts. People always appreciate people that show up with gifts, so don't miss this opportunity to make a great first impression. Okay, so this is really simple this far. You probably already are doing this intuitively, but if you're intentional, you're going to have better results. So let's recap really quickly before we get to the last step. Step 1, decide who you want to talk to. Step 2, figure out where they are. Step 3, contact them, whether it's through a contact form or email, or you just show up. Step 4, bring them something, product samples, coffee, donuts, cupcakes, you decide. And then step 5 is the most important step. When you're trying to build a relationship, you want to build trust. And the best way to do that is to align your why with them. Don't go into this conversation with this potential new relationship and talk about what you can get. Instead, talk about what you can give. Talk about what you can offer and bring to the table. That's immediately going to pique their interest and they'll want to know more. The best way to do this is to talk about how your why of your business aligns with their why of their business. How what you're trying to accomplish can support what they're trying to accomplish. Y'all, when you do this, immediately they're going to lean in and listen more. And this is a game changer. I've given this example before on the podcast, but I have people tweet me all the time asking me to promote their book. But all they do is talk about what they can get, what they need, how I can help them. That's not a bad thing, but you know what? I get a lot of those requests. And everything in that request is me. It's what's in it for them. But I'll tell you the requests that I get that really stand out. It's when someone will send me a tweet or a comment or a message and it says, hey, I have a heart for helping women chase their dreams. I have a book about helping women do that in this way, and I think we can support each other in this way. We are kindred spirits. We're cut from the same cloth. We have the same goal to see the same results, and I would love to help you. Here's my information if you want to talk more. Now, you know what? Immediately, I'm more interested in that because they have a humble spirit. They take a great approach of how we can work together and what they can give, not what they can get. And they're all about aligning their why with my why. When you begin to talk about how you can serve my customer or you can serve my audience, I'm going to pay attention But if all you're talking about is what you can get and what exposure you need and how you need help, it's not quite the same. It's not as effective at building trust and therefore not as effective at building a relationship. So the best piece of advice I can give you in building any relationship, regardless of how you contact them, regardless of who the person is or what type of business they're in, is to do step number 5. Align your why. Reach out to them and approach them from the perspective not of what you can get, but what you can give and how you guys can support each other in your mutual goals together. Now, we've gone through 5 steps, which I think is really helpful, but let's use a few practical examples of industries you might be in. Okay, let's use one example of someone that wants to land a TV interview. So let's say that you're going to go through these 5 steps and you want to get on the local television station. Well, step number 1, decide who you want to talk to. You want to talk to a producer. They're the ones that make the decisions of what guests come on the show. The second step, figure out where they are. Well, that's easy. They're at a TV station. Step 3, you want to contact them. The best way to do that for producers is probably going to be email or a phone call. Step 4, bring them something. A great example of something you could give to a producer would be a sample of past media hits or any video footage you have. Here's what that's going to do. That's going to show them that you are not embarrassing on camera. You can conduct an interview, you are well-spoken, you have good posture, you present yourself well. If you can prove that from the get-go, well, y'all, they're much more likely to have you on. And then step number 5, share how you can offer value to their audience of their show through your experience or your solutions. So that's one example of a business that wants to get a TV interview. Let's go through another example. Let's say that you want to collaborate with another business owner. Well, first step, decide who you want to talk to. That, of course, is the owner. Step 2, figure out where they are. Well, you can probably contact them online through their website or go to their store if they have one. Step 2, figure out where they are. Well, probably you can contact them online or show up. Step 3, contact them. You could do that many ways, email, phone, or even stop by, or you can always do it through social media. Step 4, you want to bring them sample of your products or coffee, or you may just want to bring both. Let's be honest. Bring your products, bring some coffee, bring donuts, bring all the things. It can't hurt. And then step 5, you want to share how you all can support each other in your mutual goals through your businesses. All right, let's go through one last example. Let's say that you have a product-based business and you want to get your products into stores. Decide who you want to talk to. That would be the buyer of the store or the owner. Where they are, well, of course, they're at the store. That's easy. You want to contact them. You can do that through email or phone or stop by. You want to bring them something. You want to bring them samples of your products, again, or coffee or both. And number 5, this is important for product-based businesses. You want to share how your products will serve their clients. You want to talk about how your products are a perfect fit for their store, their vibe, their culture, their goals, and so on. Don't talk about transactions. Talk about how your products are solutions that their customers need. Now, those are just a few examples, but regardless of your business, you can apply these 5 steps to any business and any key relationship that you're trying to seek out to help you. You know, I was actually recently listening to the podcast How I Built This by NPR, and it tells the story of Rent the Runway with Jen Hyman. And y'all, this is such a perfect example of this. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but it's amazing to see how these women persevered and gained some key relationships that led to their success. She tells this story and talks about getting a meeting set up with the amazing fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg. And what's so incredible about this story is even though they had a first meeting, which was successful, when she was on her way driving to the second meeting, Diane's assistant called Jen and said that the meeting was canceled. Like, y'all, she shut her down. She said, "I'm sorry, she doesn't want to meet with you anymore." And instead of giving up, here's what I love about this. She just kept going. She said, "Oh no, we're just around the corner. We'll be right there." And the assistant said, "No, the meeting is canceled. Diane does not want to see you." And she's like, "It's okay. We're right there. We'll just stop by for just a few minutes. We'll make it quick." And the assistant said very firmly, "What don't you understand? Diane is not going to meet with you." And y'all, what Jen said she does next is absolutely amazing. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. We're cutting up. See you soon." And hangs up the phone as if static or bad connection cut them out. And y'all, she showed up. Literally just showed up at Diane von Furstenberg's office. And that meeting was a turning point as she was able to launch Rent the Runway from that key relationship. But here's the big takeaway from that story for me. It wasn't that she landed the meeting and it was effortless and easy and Diane was like, "You're amazing, let's launch this company." That's not how it happened. It was actually really rocky and really rough. And Jen had to overcome so many challenges, so many setbacks to keep pursuing this dream. And even when the assistant called, even when the meeting was shut down and quote unquote canceled, y'all can't see me, but I'm doing quote fingers here. When the meeting was canceled with this key relationship that she needed, Jen still didn't give up. She literally showed up at this huge fashion designer's office and persisted. So I don't know what these key relationships are for you. I don't know if it's a big, huge dream or a big goal or if it's something that seems way out of reach. I just want to challenge you to persist. Even if you walk in with coffee and they shut you down the first time, that doesn't mean you can't go back. That doesn't mean you can't keep trying. And I will tell you at the end of the day, as long as you don't drive people crazy, people respect persistence. People listen. They lean in. Even if they're busy one day, when you try the next week, they may actually be able to hear you. So take a lesson from Jen Hyman of Rent the Runway. And even if those relationships are tough to get at first, don't give up. So let's recap our 5 steps really quickly. Step 1, decide who you want to talk to. Step 2, figure out where they are. Step 3, contact them. Step 4, bring them something. Y'all, this is important. And step 5, the most important, align your whys. Now, we've just been talking about the importance of relationships. And I'm telling you, if you want to build some amazing relationships with other rock star women winning in business, guess where you'll find them? At our Business Boutique one-day events this spring. We're going to be in Salt Lake City on March 27th, Grand Rapids on April 20th, and Louisville, Kentucky on April 24th. Business Boutique One Day will give you all of the essentials that you need to start or grow your business. It features best-selling author and branding expert Donald Miller and the hilarious Annie F. Downs. But you know I have a special code just for you, my Business Boutique podcast listeners. When you use the code BBWright, you'll get $5 off any ticket to the Business Boutique one-day events this spring. Go to businessboutique.com and use the code BBWright. That's BBWRIGHT. Y'all, you'll love this event, and I can't wait to see you there. All right, now I'm really excited about my guest today, Emily Richett. Emily is the founder and lead publicist of Richett Media. Now, we know the importance of telling the story of your business, and Emily is an expert at that. As a former TV news reporter, Emily shared more than 6,000 stories about inspiring entrepreneurs, businesses, and nonprofit organizations. I'm so glad she's here because we have a lot to learn. Emily, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you and I have worked together for a while, and I love watching you shine in your gifts because, you know, that's what I teach women to do. And we've been such great partners with the Business Boutique as you speak and teach other women how they can get exposure and even just basic strategies with social media and that type of stuff. But for any of our listeners that don't know who you are, what you do, I'd love it if you tell us a little bit about you and your business and the work that you do.
Sure, you're right, Christy. What we do is so similar because what I help entrepreneurs and business owners do is to really take their God-given gifts, their unique products or businesses, and help them reach bigger audiences. And the more people they can reach, the more people they can serve, the bigger impact they can have. And of course, that makes a positive impact on their businesses too. So I'm a former TV news reporter. I got my start while I was still in college. I started working at a top 40 news station, which was fun and a little scary.
Right.
All of my newbie mistakes in front of about 600,000 people a day.
No big deal.
It gave me a thick skin, right?
Yeah.
So after nearly 7 years of doing that, and I eventually became the feature reporter, doing all the good news of great businesses and nonprofits doing wonderful things in our community, I decided it was time for my next step. I had a little entrepreneurial itch myself. I wanted to sleep in past 3 a.m.
There you go.
That news schedule is no joke. And I launched Richett Media, which is a PR firm. Over the past 5 years, we've worked with everything from local small business brands to international businesses. But what I really love is helping entrepreneurs to succeed and to help them get publicity and media coverage for their business.
This is such a problem that they experience. And so it's such a great business and a niche that you're serving because anyone getting started in business, or even those women that have been in businesses for years, they're having that question. How do I get more exposure? How do I grow my audience? How do I help more people? And of course, there's 1,000 opinions out there of how you can get more followers or likes or fans or whatever. But I would love it for you to kind of take us to the most basic level. If you were talking to someone that just got their business started, what are maybe some of those foundational pieces of things they need to get started, put some effort and energy into growing their audience, things they need to know or work on or get help with? Like, where would you start them?
I always like to say to start with some local news, because even if your audience isn't local, you could have a national brand, your audience could be all over. Getting that local validation and credibility that your product, your service is good really helps with the social proof. It helps in all your other efforts that you're doing on social media.
Right.
So a great way to do this is to think like a reporter or like a writer, whoever it is you're pitching. They want a few common things. They want you to be personal, a personal human connection. Like we all want that. We want people to know our names. So use their name, know who you're pitching. Make it easy for them. You need to provide them exactly what they're looking for to tell your story. And a lot of people, that's where they get a little tripped up. They don't know how to be positioned as newsworthy. So consider a couple things. There's always a few things the news will use and do stories on. If you are a local expert in something that's trending nationally, or a big story, you see this every few years, there's a big scary flu. There's a swine flu and the bird flu, and your local news will interview a local doctor or college professor about ways to prevent it, or when is it going to hit our area. Well, that happens for good topics as well. So if you can localize something that's trending nationally, then you can make that pitch and be on your local news. Use the holidays and the trends and the seasons of the year, or those invented holidays. If you make lotions, there's probably National Lotion Making Day, or national, there's something like that. When we're around spring or when you're in fall, we have like World Vegan Day or National Organizing Day. So people who are organizers can use that in their pitch. And when you go to pitch the media, especially if you're starting local, watch the news for a couple days and see who's covering small businesses. There are a lot of free tools out there that you can use. I'm a big fan of hunter.io. That's where you can find anyone's email address at any media outlet.
Oh, wow.
You can literally write in, like Oprah.com or Fox 17, your local news station, and it'll give you everyone who works in their email address. You can search on Twitter, #journo request, and you'll find journalists for publications are looking for sources for their story. But so when it comes down to that basic level, I would say start local, because in your local market, you're automatically more newsworthy because you're a local person.
Well, and you're getting to use that on your site and, like you said, in your social media, and there's a validation component to that. But I want to go back to something you said, because when you're talking about the seasonality and that type of thing, you're really talking about angles. And I think for some of the women listening, they may not know really what that means. And so let's camp there for a minute. So for example, there was an article that came out, I don't know, maybe like earlier this year, and it was something about the top 10 cities in the nation on small business. And Nashville was one of them. And so that was the angle we then pitched to local media. Our media team did. Said, hey, have Christy on. She helps women with businesses. She's a business coach, and Nashville's one of the hot cities in small business. So that was an angle we used to get in. So give us some more examples of angles. Certainly seasonality. If Mother's Day is coming up and you have Mother's Day gifts, and this is a unique gift, don't buy her something from Target off the rack. Here's a handmade, homemade, something from your Etsy shop. What are some other examples of angles that they could use to get their foot in the door to set themselves apart?
Basically, you nailed it with the holidays, the seasons, when it's back to school time. If you are a stylist, you could talk about the best fashion for back to school for your kids or for moms. Basically, any natural season or holiday has its own angles. But also think of, this is a great trick and it makes you more newsworthy. What's the opposite of a popular opinion? You take Valentine's Day. You've got a lot of people that are pitching to talk about the top date nights, the best place to get flowers. You got chocolatiers want to do their segment on the news. You could pitch, and we did this before with a marriage counselor, why Valentine's Day is actually a pretty stressful holiday for relationships. And here are 5 ways to combat that. How can you make Valentine's Day less stressful? Yeah, because you're actually pitching a less popular opinion of Valentine's Day. You're saying it's the opposite. It's actually stressful. And that, so anytime you can offer a different opinion than what most people are talking about in their industry, that's great. And I'm sure that's something you've used, or you look at what Dave Ramsey has done with finance, and sometimes he'll share opinions that maybe other finance experts don't agree with.
Maybe. Emily, you're being so kind right now. You're being so sweet.
But the media loves that, right? Because they love when people are decisive and they will say, and here are the 5 ways you can do it. People want little sound bites of knowledge, little tips. So anytime you can provide value, and I think especially with all the women who are involved in Business Boutique, they're used to that. how to provide value to their audience, whether it's in their blog or their social media. When you go to make your pitch, you're providing value to that media outlet's audience. So you don't want to just make the pitch. It's not always about you. Sometimes you aren't the story. You're a part of the story.
Right.
You're part of that bigger story.
You're just contributing
impact.
to it.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people can get stuck in that imposter syndrome of, well, who am I to go on the news and be interviewed? Don't think of yourself as an expert. Think of yourself as a contributor. There could be multiple voices contributing in your field or in your industry. There isn't just one. You can contribute to that conversation. I feel that a lot. Who am I as an entrepreneur? There are people certainly far more successful with bigger businesses. Yeah, I contribute to Inc., an entrepreneur. And there are people who contribute to that who are in Fortune 500 businesses. Well, there are people who would relate more to me, my small business, and what I do than they could a big CEO of a large firm.
Well, I love that you went there because that was literally the next question I was going to ask, because I was thinking, I bet women are listening thinking right now like, oh, I couldn't be on the local news. Like, I just have this little business. I could never go on TV. Why would anyone want to listen to me? Even if they feel super confident in their business, which we talk about fear and imposter syndrome, all that good stuff in the business context. But when you talk about going on TV as an expert on the news that they sit and watch with their family every single night and morning, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, who would want to listen to me? So let's debunk that myth. The people that go on the news to talk about any of these topics are normal people. Like, Emily, I go to these news segments, especially local news, where it's a little bit more approachable, a little bit less intimidating. You go in there is Susie talking about making pretzels out of her kitchen. There's so-and-so that has a funny dog that does a trick. There's a firefighter that wants to talk about fire safety in the fire season. I'm like, these are average people that are hanging out in the green room, gonna go on TV, and to your point, contribute. So let's debunk that myth that you are somehow special or someone gives you permission to be an expert. You're a contributor.
Christy, it's almost like you're more valuable to the media if you are the everyday person doing something and willing to talk about it. So chances are, if you're listening to this and you're feeling nervous and you think, ooh, I could do that. Yeah, this is resonating, but ooh, I don't know if I should. Then you're probably the perfect person for it. And you know why? The people who watch the news are everyday people. And we want to have people that we can relate to in the news. And especially if you're making any kind of impact in the community locally, or what you do inspires others. And it's great meeting so many different people that have come through Business Boutique and hearing the special things they do. I met someone who she makes clothing for children that are getting treatments in hospitals. And that's such a specific thing. And she never thought about actually getting in the news. Well, the news is never talking about stuff like that. Well, they could. They just don't know you exist yet.
Right.
You need to reach out. You can't wait and hope that someone's going to make you an offer. You got to reach out, make a personal pitch. You keep it short, but you tell them what you'd like to do. I always aim for the morning news shows. If you're going to go local, that's where they have about 4 hours of news. They have time to share the good news. By the evening, it's all doom and gloom, right? Of the day. So look at who is reporting on your morning shows. Offer to come in early to share what you do with their audience. And the same with local magazines or print. You just reach out. And if you have a really strong niche and you want like a parenting magazine, pick up the magazine and figure out who's writing about what you do or your type of business.
One of the things I see happen a lot are women may want to do that. They may want to reach out to different media outlets, but they make a very common mistake and they go about it the completely wrong way. So let me tell you what I see a lot, Emily, and then let's teach them how to do it correctly. They focus their pitch on what they can get, not what they can give. And so they treat it as, hey, let me come on the news or let me have an article in this magazine because I need help getting lift in my business. And it's all about you as the business owner and what you can get. And you know what, Emily? I'm not a media outlet, but I get this from followers. And I'll get private messages and people tweeting me, hey, let me come on your podcast because I have a book I want to promote. And your customer, and we talk about this a lot in marketing, your customer is human and all they're thinking all day, every day is, why do I care? But media outlets are human beings and it's no different where they're thinking, why do I care? What's in it for me? So everything about your pitch should be about the value you can offer to their audience, not about what you can gain in exposure. And so let's talk about how to angle your pitch in a way that's, here's how I can contribute value to your audience.
Always come from the place of value first and the impact you'll make. And here's why, to add to what you were just saying. If you're going in it for the popularity or for the profit, you're not going to really get the opportunity to begin with. The people who go in it to make a bigger impact, to reach more people because they truly believe that what they have to offer will change lives or impact people or people need to hear about it, they're the ones that will get the opportunity. And then a great side effect is, you're going to get that credibility, the visibility that often leads to profitability. So the best way to do that in your pitch is always ask, what is the bigger picture here? Why does their audience care? If I'm pitching a reporter or a writer or an editor of a magazine, why does their audience care? Not my audience. My audience is going to already hear about this because I'll share the interview afterward with them and they're going to think it's great. But why does this new audience care about what I have to say? Because they don't care I have a big sale coming up or a book coming out. What do I have to teach them or to offer them that will make an impact?
Right.
So I know you've taught a lot about how to have that elevator pitch. You talk about what you do. And I say always make it grandma easy. If you can't explain to the media what you do so that like my grandma could understand, how can you expect that they're going to help tell others and tell a bigger audience what you do? So have that elevator pitch nailed down and focus on the impact of what you do, not just how you do it.
Right. The results, being very results oriented. And I think a lot of people miss that. I have, again, people reach out to me to be on the podcast or platform in any way. Here's all that I have done. I have done XYZ. I'm an expert in XYZ, but it's not results language. It's not here's what I can contribute to your listeners of your podcast or to your fans on social media. And so, of course, all of the media outlets, whether it's a magazine or television outlet or whatever, they're thinking of what their audience wants. And so that's what they're going to pay attention to. So when you deliver a pitch in the form of results, here are the results, here's the value, the impact. And let's talk really quickly about lists because you mentioned this earlier, but that's always a really concise, easy way to pitch something of here's 5 steps to declutter your home at Christmas or whatever. So for someone that maybe wants to make a pitch and they want to put it into easily digestible grandma terms, as you said, what are some ways for them to shape that?
All right. Well, I know someone that makes beautiful heirloom quality toys, and her whole thing, they're toys that don't make noise. And around the holiday season, I told her, look, you need to make this pitch, but it's not about your big sale. She has her big sale every year. It's kind of the anti-Black Friday because she's like a local maker.
Yep.
You need to do a pitch on, here are the 5 ways you can engage your child in thoughtful play. And it's not all about your toys, but your toys will be part of the visual.
Sure.
And you'll certainly talk about these toys you make that don't have all the bells and whistles and lights and noises. But you're providing the content of why do you do what you do? Why does it matter that you make these toys that don't make noise? And you'll have these 5 tips, and not all of them will even be about your toys, right? She did it and was able to land some coverage. Now, another example, and going back to that impact, and I think she had some lists in it too, but there was this doula agency, and she was celebrating her 1-year anniversary of a team of doulas. And instead of it being all about her, because really every business has an anniversary every year.
Sure.
That's a lot of businesses. She made it all about a National Diaper Awareness Week and did a diaper drive at all these different locations throughout town and got a ton of press. And then, of course, within it, she's promoting her business and its 1-year anniversary. And she did different things. She had a diaper drive at like a local toy store. People could also drop off diapers at the local children's hospital. And then when she got her media, she talked about like 5 ways you can support these local diaper banks that actually collect diapers for mothers that are having babies and can't afford diapers. And so the content wasn't actually about, hey, my doula agency is great and it's celebrating a 1-year anniversary. It was about ways the community could get involved. So thinking of how you can partner with other nonprofit organizations in your community or what you could do that would make an impact is really powerful.
There's such a great lesson and takeaway in that because what you're talking about is an indirect pitch, essentially, where you're adding value, but of course you're going to be, as you bring people exposure into your business, they know about your anniversary or your doula services or whatever, but you shouldn't pitch something that's a complete 180 from what you do. It's not like, hey, let me promote, National Lawn Gardening Day and I'm a doula. Like those things are not connected. You're not going to be an expert in that space and you're not going to gather any customers or an impact that's going to help you. So to find things that's in your wheelhouse that you can then speak to, contribute, add value, and of course it's an indirect pitch or an indirect connection to your business and people that may want to follow up or may want more from you that's somehow connected in what you're getting in on. So I think that's a great takeaway. Emily, I'd love to hear from you when people maybe get their first media hit, whether it's local news or they get an article in a magazine, that type of thing. What are some of the top 2 to 3 mistakes you see that people make once they've landed it? So let's assume they landed it. They got past the pitch stage. What are some common mistakes they make?
Well, I'd say the biggest mistake first is that they think that the work is over. They think the opportunity is over after the TV interview went live or the podcast goes live or the print article is out. And they go, the people that just read it or saw it or heard it, that's it. Well, actually, I'd say you're about halfway there. You can leverage your media content for months and months to come. And a big way is obviously sharing it online or in your email newsletter all over. But I always try to weave in a good call to action in the media interview. And then what you can do is utilize that. So for instance, my husband has this organic grocery delivery business called Dorganics. Really fun. And when he does media, and it's not always just about Dorganics, it can be about the local farmers, it can be about holidays and the best way to cook your turkey, whatever it may be, but then he'll always have a good call to action. And this is really helpful for product-based businesses. He'll do $10, $12 off your first delivery if you sign up and use the code, and he'll say whatever that media outlet's name is, like Wood TV8 or Fox 17. And then after it's aired, that's when we can share it on social. The reach goes so much further because that credibility of a third-party news source did the story. And then people are using that code. And then we're starting to make money off of it. So then we can put a little bit of that back into a Facebook ad, spend and boost it that way, and really see a true return on investment. So that's one thing. Is a lot of people stop right when the opportunity has ended. They don't share it. And that's when you can really leverage it for profit too, right?
Sure.
The second thing is they kind of leave their next opportunity hanging. When you have an opportunity to be in front of the person who's booked you or interviewed you, already have your next pitch ready to go in the back of your mind. So that when they thank you and say, hey, that was great, you can say, well, thanks so much for having me on. And next month is back to school season, and I have a great blog about the healthiest lunches you can pack for the school year. I'd love to come back on. You make that next pitch before you leave. Have it already in your back pocket ready to go.
Well, and that's so important too, because from the media's perspective, from their standpoint, anytime they have a new person on, there's risk, right? Like, are they going to screw this up? Are they going to be terrible? So if you go and you're awesome that first time, they're that much more likely to have you back because they know, okay, this is a safe person. They're good on camera. They're well-spoken. There's not this risk of, okay, are they going to do have an awkward moment on TV. So it's a great time, right when it's fresh, right when you've just landed it. It's been awesome, added value to say, hey, yeah, I would love to speak on this topic and add value to your audience.
That will usually land you your next interview before you've left your first one. And that's when you really get it going. And then before you know it, you might even be a regular guest. And I would say that last thing too is make sure then you follow up, especially when it's the first time, with a nice thank you. You're forming relationships at the end of the day. These people who are media gatekeepers or have shows, they're humans. They want a real, genuine connection. And when you have that, you're more able to leverage the opportunities that they'll have because they're going to think of you first as opposed to someone that writes in and might have more experience than you. They're going to think of you because now you're their buddy.
Totally.
They get to know you.
It's no different than the relationships with your customers or relationships with anyone. When you build a relationship with someone, they naturally want to come back to you more. And I would say that would be true for even other things that maybe our listeners are doing. So if you have a speaking event, when I go and speak at an outside company, I deliver the very best presentation that I can. And before I leave, I'm shaking hands with people saying, hey, I would love to come back. I would love to speak on this topic. I also teach on leadership. So you're delivering value and you're wanting to maintain that relationship with them where, of course, they benefit from it and you benefit from it as well. Emily, I would love it as we wrap up if you would tell our listeners where they can connect with you because I know they're going, oh my gosh, this is so good. I didn't even know I could be on TV. How do I do this? I need more help. So tell us on social media, your website, where they can connect and learn more about what you're doing and how you can help them.
You can go to emilyrichett.com, and that's Emily, RICHETT.com. And if you go to emilyrichett.com/guide, I have a free PDF. It's like 15 pages. I even have a pitching template. You can plug and play and customize it to you. And my tips for pitching, a checklist, that seasonal calendar I was talking about, I break it down of 70 plus topics that you can pitch.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, so that's really your starting point. If you're new, start with that. It's free. And then I follow up with like 3 video lessons. I take you behind the scenes of a media interview. And that's a great place to connect with me. My PR firm is called Richett Media. So if you're ready to outsource it, but the truth is, Christy, it sounds like I'm trying to put myself out of business when I say this. Most entrepreneurs and small businesses, or even authors and speakers, until you're really needing a big team, you can do your PR yourself. And most of the media would rather hear from you. They want to hear from you, not a third party that's representing you until you get to a certain level. So I always recommend start there, and I would love to connect with people there and on social.
Well, that guide sounds like a perfect starting point for them. So Emily, thanks so much for taking some time to hang out with us and certainly add value to my audience. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it.
Gosh, isn't she awesome? I tell you guys, I love meeting other amazing women because I learn from them every single time I get to interview them. Now, I have got some big news for you guys, so I want you to listen up. We are doing something next month brand new. We are doing, in fact, what we teach you to do. The Academy has been running in full force for a year now. And y'all, this is my coaching group, and they are absolutely rocking it. The value is huge, but now we're doing what we teach you to do, and we are raising our prices. The good news is that you can still get in at this rate. It's only $30 a month, or if you want to pay for the full year in advance, it's only $300. Y'all, you get 2 months free if you pay for the year in advance, and then you are locking in this rate for a full year. Every single month, I am meeting with these women, and we are working through their problems and working on their goals. You also get tons of video training lessons and monthly assessments. We've got so many testimonials of women that are absolutely rocking it in the Academy, and I want you to be a part of that. If you're ready to lock in this rate and join my coaching group, go to businessboutique.com/academy today. Now I want to take a second and talk about something I saw in the news recently regarding small business loans. And to be honest, this isn't the first time I've seen it, nor have you. But there was an article that came out on Forbes.com about the best small business loans for women in 2018. Now, here's the cool thing. There are some pretty impressive updates about the status of women-owned businesses in the United States. Women-owned businesses have grown exponentially over the last 2 decades. As of January 2017, women-owned businesses employ nearly 9 million people and generate more than $1.7 trillion. Now, this is according to the 2017 State of Women-Owned Businesses report commissioned by American Express. Now, let's talk about how women-owned businesses are doing that are bringing in some big numbers. Women-owned businesses that generate more than $1 million annually actually grew 104% since 1997. And then there are women-owned businesses that generate between $500,000 and $999,000, and those grew by 88%. These numbers are growing, and I'd be willing to bet that these statistics don't even cover the growth we're seeing in Etsy shops, side businesses, and solopreneurs. Y'all, it is easier than ever before to start a business. But the article goes on to talk about a few other things. It goes on to talk about the multiple different ways that you can get small business financing, particularly small business loans. Now, let's talk about that for a second. I'm all about people growing their business. I really am. I want you to grow your business. I want you to chase your dreams. I want you to make a difference in the marketplace. What I don't want you to do is believe that taking out loans is the only way to do that. And I also don't want you to believe the myth that taking out loans is a sign of success or growth or that it's a positive thing in any way. You all know that I work for Dave Ramsey and we are anti-debt. You don't have to take out loans to grow your business and reach your goals. You can, believe it or not, start small and grow slow. You can be wise with your money and cash flow your money in a way that the business supports itself at every stage of your growth. The truth is, when you take out debt in any form, you're taking on risk and you're completely reducing your power. I want the opposite for you. I want you to have very low risk and a lot of power. I want you to call the shots, not your collectors. If you want to grow your business and you're willing to be patient and start small and grow slow, you can do it, and you can do it debt-free. I'm not opposed to women taking out small business loans. I'm opposed to anyone taking out small business loans. This is not a gender issue of whether or not women can be successful in business. I'm telling you, taking out debt is risk. It's a bad idea, and it's bad for your business. There's a myth I've talked about before on the podcast that if you take out small business loans, well, it's not really debt. It's not your debt, right? It's the business's debt. No, y'all, you are the business. Someone is responsible for paying those bills, and that someone is you. It's all debt, it's all risk, and it's all a bad idea. So I don't know what you've been reading in the news headlines about small business loans and success and growth in our economy, but I just want to go ahead and remind you, you can chase this dream debt-free if you're willing to start small and grow slow and pace yourself. You can do this on your own, and you don't have to have debt bringing you down. Now, some of you asked me questions by visiting our Business Boutique podcast booth at our 3-day Business Boutique Nashville event. And now I'm going to answer one of them. Now, this is a longer question, so it's the only one we're going to answer this week. This question comes from Susie. Susie, what's your question for me?
I'm Susie Robinson, and I'm with Master's Hand Candle Company and Gift Shop. My question is, we've been doing this for 9 years, and we haven't been profitable yet. At what point do you say, okay, this is just not a viable business and it's not going to work? Or at what point do you say, hey, I'm at the edge. This is when everybody else quits. I'm just going to pursue on. If it's just a passion project, it's just a passion project, but we would like it to be viable.
Susie, sister, you have not had a business for 9 years, my friend. You have had a hobby. You have not gotten profitable in 9 years. Your question is, at what point do you say, okay, this is just not a viable business, it is not going to work? Susie, the problem is not your business. The problem is something you're doing. The business is viable. If you want to sell candles, there are people that buy candles. So the business is viable. There's something you're doing, Susie, and I don't know if it's managing the money. I don't know if it's marketing. I don't know if you've got too much overhead. I don't know what it is. We've got to dig into this a little bit more. So I'd love to hear more about what's going on so that I can help you change what you need to change about how you're running your business so that this business can fly, because the business can work. So tell me more.
We've grown. So we have Master's Hand, and that's how we started. In 2003, we started making our candles in our kitchen, outgrew the kitchen, moved to the basement, outgrew the whole house, and then we bought a building. It's a 10,000 square foot building. What we've created has been a destination place for women, and it's all centered around women, of course. We have a chocolate factory. We have a candle factory. We started a flower shop. We have a gift shop. People come for coffee and desserts, and we do ladies' luncheons. We've grown it to that point, and we've done a lot of work, but so far it's not been profitable. And we have another business, and that's what sustained it.
Susie, this is very interesting to me. I'm very curious about this. So you said that you started making candles in your kitchen. You outgrew your kitchen, moved to the basement, outgrew the whole house, and then bought a building. A 10,000 square foot building, mind you. Okay, all this is before you've gotten into your other 15 side businesses here. But here's what I'm curious. Why did you keep expanding if the money wasn't there? Just because you physically grew or your production grew didn't mean the money grew. And if the money is not growing faster than the production, then it doesn't justify growing the production. Does that make sense? You've just expanded your hobby. And now not only have you expanded your hobby of candles, you're into chocolate factories and flower shops and gift shops and desserts. So I'm confused because I think the strategy for you has been to do more without the emphasis on actually making more money to be able to justify doing more. So tell me a little bit more about what led to this growth and what I'm missing here.
We're actually not even in a town. We're on the side of the highway, right outside the city limits, and the town that we're closest to is 1,800 people. We've become a destination place, so anywhere within 60 miles, we've positioned our spot as the place to go when you're celebrating. It's centered around girls and all the things that girls love. The flower shop has been probably the most profitable for us. Chocolate, surprisingly, has been very profitable for us too. My favorite part of the business is investing in people. What we sell is memories and experience. And so it's a passion project, but can passion projects be profitable?
Here's the thing, Susie. Your idea is great. Like it really is. Candles, chocolate, flowers, destination, girls' luncheons, bachelorette parties, mom's day out. All the things you're doing are great ideas. They're viable business ideas. So the fact that you're not making money lets me know there is something else going on. Your expenses are too high, your prices are too low, or your marketing needs some help. And I don't know which of those, and it may be a combination, but I just want to go ahead and encourage you that your idea is a good one. And when you said, can a passion project be profitable? Yeah. If it's a good business idea and you have a good business idea, it wouldn't have continued going and having people show up for the last 9 years if it didn't have demand. You've got demand. You're just not doing something when it comes to managing the money to make this a profitable business. And I'd be willing to bet that you're having so much fun, Susie, that you haven't put enough emphasis on the money. You're going, we're having a good time. We're eating chocolate. We're drinking coffee. We're planting flowers or cutting flowers or organizing flowers, whatever. We're just all the girls having a great time. But you know what, Susie? You've had a hobby for 9 years. So if you want this to be a viable business, if you want this to go from a passion project that is actually a profitable project, you've got to put more emphasis on the money.
The areas that probably aren't as profitable, like luncheons, we spoil them rotten, and it's a wonderful experience. We lose about $1.68 every luncheon, but if they come, it's rare that they come and just have lunch. They usually buy in the gift shop. To get people in the door, the hook is the luncheon. I'll gladly pay $1.68 to have somebody walk in the door because our average sale is about $32.
Susie, I have not seen your financials. But when you say that you lose $1.68 every luncheon, I'd be willing to bet, I don't know, more than $1.68 that you're only calculating cost. You're only calculating the cost of that luncheon, the cost of the green beans or coffee cake or whatever. That's all you're calculating when you're calculating your loss per person per luncheon. You are not calculating your time, your energy, your overhead, everything that goes into putting on and pulling off that luncheon. So, Susie, I gotta tell you, you're losing a lot more than $1.68 per person per luncheon. And when you say you'd gladly pay $1.68 to have somebody walk in the door because your average sale is about $32, if that's per person, you're still losing way more than you think. Your strategy behind how little can I lose is why you're losing. Your strategy to building your business should not be how little can I lose. It can be how much can I grow. And Susie, I'm getting the feeling that you really need some help with the financials. Not just managing the financials, but even your mindset about the financials. Susie, I don't know if you've read the Business Boutique book, but I'm going to send you one just in case. If you already have one, read it again. Highlight the chapters on money. Let this sink in because I promise you, if you change your mindset about money and you change how you manage your money in your business, this can go from a hobby to a real business. But if you don't get it profitable, you've got a hobby. Something going for 9 years. It's not a business, but you got something going for 9 years. You have the demand there. You can do this. You just need to change your mindset and how you manage your money, and I promise you, this thing can turn into a real business. Now, if I haven't scared you away and you want your question answered, I would love to hear from you. You can send me your questions on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram using the hashtag #AskChristyWright. So send me your questions because I'd love to hear from you. All right, your homework for this week is to make a list of 3 key relationships that can help you in your business. And then I want you to follow the 5 steps we've talked about in this episode and actually follow up and reach out to them. Now, you all know that I love to give you worksheets and downloads and freebies that are going to help you put everything we talk about on the podcast into practice. So if you go to the show notes for today's episode on businessboutique.com, you can download the social media cheat sheet. And when you do that, we're actually going to throw in a free tax prep checklist. Y'all, it's never too early to start prepping for your taxes, and this is going to help you. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me as always. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And if you would, leave us a review. That really helps us so much. For more encouragement on how to make money doing what you love, visit businessboutique.com. Hey y'all, if you enjoyed the Business Boutique podcast, I want to tell you about the Ken Coleman Show.
According to a recent Gallup poll, nearly 70% of Americans are disengaged at work. If you dread going into work every Monday morning and you're just trying to make it to the weekend, the Ken Coleman Show is for you. Everyone has a sweet spot. Your sweet spot is at the intersection of your greatest talent and greatest passion. We will help you discover what it is you were born to do, and then we'll help you create a plan to make your dream job a reality. You matter, and you have what it takes. Join the conversation on The Ken Coleman Show.
To hear full episodes, search Ken Coleman in iTunes or go to kencolemanshow.com.
Mercy Me is coming to Pittsburgh, the Together Again tour with Mercy Me, Crowder, and special guest Andrew Ripp, Thursday, October 5th. Bring your family and friends to the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh for Mercy Me, Crowder, and Andrew Ripp live in concert. 3 multiple award-winning artists on one stage for one night. Let your spirit soar, your heart sing, and your faith ignite. Mark your calendars for Thursday, October 5th. Get your tickets now at mercyme.org.